Hey, it's Damon Brown of DamonBrown.net. I'm going to go ahead and get the Amazon side going so we can all have a joint conversation. Should be ready in 3, 2, 1. There we go. Hey, welcome. My name is Damon Brown of DamonBrown.net. Welcome to the Bring Your Worth show. My thing is helping you as a side hustler, a solopreneur, or otherwise a non-traditional entrepreneur. Today we're going to talk about a few different things, but the main thing we're going to talk about is bringing your worth by building a personal board of directors. I've called them a brain trust. I've called them my community. It's basically a group of people who love you, and I mean that in every sense of the word, who love you and understand and see what your intention is and will keep you straight and hold you to keeping that intention. So if you say you want to build a community that wants to support mothers of color who are going to become mothers within the next, help people at coach who are focused on that, then your brain trust help you with it and say, hey, you have this gig over here, you have this opportunity over here, but it doesn't quite fit what you said you wanted to do 5 years ago. That's what a board of directors does. I've been on the board of directors of organizations, including some nonprofits, but I also have my own personal board of directors who helps me stay on task. People come in and out of that brain trust, of that board of directors, depending on what season I happen to be in. And there's certain people I only call upon when it's certain things I'm dealing with, whether it's entrepreneurship, fatherhood and parenthood, money issues, stuff like that. And so having that group allowed me to do a lot of things. And as I said in a keynote recently, I'm about as independent minded as you can get. So I have my own book imprint. My new book is called Built From Now, How to Know Your Power, See Your Abundance, and Nourish the World. That's my book. So I publish it myself, as I did with the previous bestseller. It's over there, The Ultimate Bite-Sized Entrepreneur. Thank y'all for making it a bestseller. And so I do that. I have my own independent coaching where I do one-on-one coaching. That's at DamonBrown.net. You can go visit me there, etc. But even for me, where I'm a small business owner, I'm an entrepreneur, where I sold my last startup, etc., I still need other people. And so that's what we're going to talk about, is how you attract and bring this group in. I come to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Give or take a few minutes, depending on the kids or other things that are going on. I am the primary caregiver of my 2 kids. And so every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I come to you 11:30 a.m. Las Vegas time. You can subscribe for free at that link right there. I'm not going to go through it, but it's at youtube.com/BrownDamon, and then all that stuff after that. Come through, subscribe. Again, it's free. I've been coming to you Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for months now. I think my first show was back in October. So I think we're at 6, 7, 8 months. My time is all screwed up, as it is for a lot of us that are sheltering in place. But I have a lot more content where this is coming from, as far as helping you build that personal network. And that's what we're really talking about when we're talking about personal board of directors, or we're talking about a brain trust, as I like to call it. If you're interested in my new book, the audiobook, I'm super proud of it. I recorded it myself, and I love it. I'm a big fan of it. A lot of you are digging it too. If you want the audiobook of my new book, Built From Now, it's actually been going up quite a bit. So a lot of you are buying the audiobook more than the physical book, which is fine with me. So if you like the conversations that we're having, again, go and grab the audiobook there. It's also available at all the retailers. And if you're checking it out on Amazon Live, shout out to y'all, then you just click the link over to the left or to the right, depending on what page you're looking at, and go and grab the book. All right, let's get to it. How do you build your own personal board of directors? Those people that care about you and support you. We're going to talk about a few books that will help you on that journey. First one is Braving the Wilderness by Brene Brown. If you're a fan of the show, you know I love Brene's work. I've been following her for years. We talked briefly over social media, which of course was like a fanboy moment to me when I wrote about her work several years ago. But I think she's genuine, and I think she's been very, hate the word because it's been overused, but very vulnerable as far as her own struggles, and that allows her to be transparent on the page. I look at her as a role model in that regard with Built From Now, where I tend to be very transparent with my own struggles. Braving the Wilderness is one of her most underrated books, because she has Daring Greatly. She has Rising Strong, which is my personal favorite. She has Dare to Lead, which is her new book, relatively new book. She has other compilations. This tends to be forgotten about. Braving the Wilderness is basically about that step where you say, this is who I am, and you're in the wilderness because no one else can see you. As I said to a coaching client recently, that it's that place between you leaving the shore and you can't see the shore anymore, and you can't quite see the island that you're swimming towards. You know both are there, but it does require a level of faith because it's too far to turn around, but then you got to push a little bit harder to get to that island. She talks about that space, that uncomfortable, frankly, space. And the more you're able to carve out that space, the more you're able to get to that proverbial island. Sorry for the mixed metaphors. Get that proverbial island and find like-minded folks. You can't build community if you're not yourself. And this will be a theme in this. I have a personal brain trust, a personal board of directors, whatever term you want to call it. I'll call it brain trust from now on. I've had that same group. People have come in and out, but I've had it for decades. That's because I've been very fortunate because I had such a challenging childhood as far as not being accepted for who I am, not so much from a familial standpoint, but from a societal standpoint. I was just different, as a lot of us feel different. I talk about it quite a bit in the Ultimate Bite-Sized Entrepreneur, like in my previous book from going on the 5th anniversary. But I talk about it a little bit in this book. I talk about it even more in my later books. And I even talk about it in the new book, Built From Now. And because I went through that, then my craving for acceptance of the general public might be a little bit less, because there was a period of time where I wasn't really accepted by the general public. And so me doing unusual things like, my most famous startup, I connected people for hugs using an app. That requires going to the wilderness and saying, this voice is saying this needs to be out here. I'm going to become a co-founder of this app with my 2 other co-founders. And we got chastised a lot. And then a year later, we ended up selling the business because it was so popular. But without braving into the wilderness, to use her term, then I wouldn't have done that. I would have been too scared. And so she talks about being yourself. And in being yourself and braving that wilderness, then you're able to go a little bit deeper. If you want to go deeper beyond the book, I have a video that I just put up like 2 weeks ago called Brene Brown's Best Quotes. I have several episodes about Brene Brown and some of her wisdom. I think I'm on like the 102nd episode of the Bring Your Worst show. So we're going. And I have a handful of episodes that are about Brene Brown, her talking to Oprah Winfrey, her dropping wisdom with Adam Grant, shout out to Adam, and so forth. There's a collection of a lot of them. So it's a good place to start. And I talk about one of the most powerful quotes that I got from Braving the Wilderness about finding confidence. It has to do with Oprah. It's like triple word score if you're a Scrabble fan, hitting all the points. I talk about that in Brene Brown's Best Quotes. Be sure and click on there. And again, if you subscribe over at youtube.com/Brown Damon for free, you won't miss an episode. Again, I think this episode ran the Friday before last. Be sure and check it out. All right. The Power of Onlyness by Nilofer Merchant. They got the original hardcover. Yes, I do. Hardcover. Nilofer and I actually ended up connecting at TED several years ago. We ended up reconnecting when their book came out. It's called The Power of Onlyness. Make your wild ideas mighty enough to dent the world. Excuse me. And if you think of my own new book, Nourish the World. So you can see how her and I became fast friends. I've shouted out this book a few times on this program, not just because I know her, but actually beyond me knowing her, the impact of the book, I think, has been beyond expectations. And what I mean is that if you look at The Power of Onlyness, it jives really well, if that's the correct word, with Braving the Wilderness. And The Power of Onlyness, I love the contradictory nature of it. I'm going to try to interpret what she's saying. The more you're able to embrace yourself, the more you're able to signal, and you've heard me talk about this on the show before, the more you're able to signal like-minded folks, and then you create community. But you have to step out first, right? If you're not stepping out as yourself, then how can you create community? Because what you're putting out there is a facade, right? And so people are attracted to a facade. Of course, you're not going to get along with them because that's not really you. But if you come out as yourself, then in all shapes and forms, then you're able to signal. I think it's from a word from nature, but it was the first time I heard it was from her book that came out like 5-6 years ago. If you're able to signal, then you'll be able to get that like community. That's, again, what I was able to do. That's what a lot of my colleagues are able to do. In fact, anyone that I respect as far as the impact they made on the world, not even necessarily just financial, but societal, emotional impact, sustainability, things that have lived beyond their own life. Shout out to Jay and Briggs Bunning my mentor who passed away a couple months ago. She's a great example. I talk about her on a previous episode of the show where I talk about death as motivation, because she died 3 months ago, going on 3 months ago. Time is flying. She died about 3 months ago, but her legacy lives in me and the thousands of students that she impacted as journalism professor and lawyer. Nilfer gets into that. And you really have to be yourself to attract that like crowd, not just community as far as people that you want to serve. Because the side hustlers or solopreneurs, other folks are the community I want to serve. Because I'm a side hustler, I'm a solopreneur. But not only that, but also on the board of directors, brain trust side, and getting that kind of insight, you need to be yourself. You're seeing the pattern here, right? I talked about this in a talk that I did, actually an interview with Afrotech. Sorry, my brain's like 5 seconds slow today. With Afrotech and the creative director, or I believe that's his term, editorial director, Will Lucas over there. Shout out to Will. He had me on the show, and I talked about learning skills versus building your idea first. It's kind of a similar concept if you think about it, because sometimes we're afraid to go into that wilderness. We're afraid of our own onlyness because we don't feel as though we've earned that. The thing is that if you have a new idea, and you know it needs to get out into the world, that is your ticket. Like you've already earned that, right? As James Baldwin said, you got, your crown is already bought and paid for. All you have to do is put it on, right? Say no more. The next book, which is actually my own, called Bring Your Worth. It's the name of my imprint, so it's a pretty important title for me. It came out a couple years ago. Love Up Your Creative Power, Value, and Service to the World. I recommend it because, again, it's about finding your own worth within the world. And again, you're seeing the pattern where if you're going to have people that have your back, if you're going to have people that support you, if you're going to have some people that love you, frankly, in every sense of the word, then you need to bring yourself, as Brene Brown would say, into the arena. You have to brave that wilderness. Bring Your Worth is a discussion about that. Again, it's available on audiobook and digital and all those different platforms. If you're watching on Amazon, you can click on there and check it out. Excuse me. And it's actually the precursor. Sound like from Boston. It's a precursor to my newest book, Build From Now. How to Know Your Power, See Your Abundance, and Nourish the World. I am tripping today. All right, so Bring Your Worth. I highly recommend that. If you want to get an example of bringing your worth, check out my previous Bring Your Worth show. Hence the name of the show. 3 reasons that broke LeBron James turn away his first $1 million check. Quick context. He and his family were living in the projects in somewhere in Akron, or the outskirts of Akron. A major shoe company, and I mentioned in the video, major shoe company said, hey, we want to give you a deal, but we're going to give you $1 million check, no questions asked, as long as you don't talk to the other, at the time, 2 other shoe companies. And he said no. And he got on a plane and was back in the projects, going to high school, like nothing happened. And of course, the rest is history, because then he ended up finding his true worth. And it gets into a lot of questions as far as if people are trying to buy you out, if people are trying to work with you, if people are trying to get your product, your intellectual property, et cetera, et cetera. And I can go on this for an hour. I have in some of the keynotes. Then you have to know your own value. If you think that your stuff isn't that valuable, and then someone else finds value in it, you'll take whatever they're offering you because you don't even value your own stuff. They might see it, but you don't see it. And that $1 million check to LeBron was nothing compared to, I don't know, the $500 million he's worth today. But imagine if he took that $1 million. Now, suddenly that seems small. And at 16 or 17, whatever age he was, he's definitely in high school, he's able to see his worth on that level. Be sure and check out the video. I did an ink column related to it at inkdamonbrown.com. It was at the time one of my most popular columns. I did a video discussing it even deeper. Please check it out, as well as Bring Your Worth if that's your speed. My last recommendation, which I'd be remiss if I didn't recommend it, is Tribes, and it's part of the Seth Godin collection. I can't read. Seth Godin collection. Tribes is part of the collection, and I want to make sure I get the other books right. It also includes The Dip, which is, as you might know, one of my favorite books, actually of all time. And the last one is called Linchpin, about making an impact at whatever organization you're in. Just get the trifecta, get it over with. If you get one Seth Godin book, you're going to end up with all of them. Tribe specifically talks about creating your community, creating your groups. Your brain trust, your personal board of directors, it's like taking that community and then like compressing it. It's like concentrated orange juice. It's just right, just tight. I have about, let's say 5 people in my brain trust right now. And sometimes those people go in and out, depending on what's going on personally, professionally, financially, whatever. And it's not like I pay them or anything, because I provide the same brain trust information and share the same insight for them. And y'all know who you are, because there's no doubt people know who are in my brain trust, and hopefully vice versa. And so tribes is kind of like, let's get this community going, but it's also, let's also have this inner sanctum. Man, I am killing it with metaphors today. The inner sanctum, the cone of silence. There's something where it's just, this is just ours. And these are private conversations. It's just a connection, a dope connection, as we would say, between all the different people within this really tight group. And that has a bigger impact, I think, as far as concentration than anything else. If you're going to if you're going to grab the collection, be sure and check out, or before you grab the collection, be sure and check out When Should I Quit Something. It was actually a previous episode I did. I think it ran like 2-3 months ago. It's one of my favorite episodes of the Bring Your Worth show. Again, all this is free. Be sure and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. I talk about when you should quit something. And it's based on Seth Godin's book, The Dip, which super short book. Book is like, I have the audio book. It's like an hour and a half long. It's super short. The book itself, which I do not have, but I imagine it's as short as Bring Your Worth. So I imagine it's a small book. Again, the audio book's like an hour and a half. So I'm thinking the book itself is like 100 pages. But I go deep into it. And I talk about why and when you should quit something, and why you should quit things more than we expect. I can't speak for where you're at. Here in America, we have an issue with quitting. We look at quitting as losing. And if I didn't quit doing journalism as hard as I did before, then I wouldn't have become an entrepreneur. If I didn't sell my startup, then I wouldn't have become a one-on-one coach, and I wouldn't have become a TED speaker and a public speaker. If I didn't put that to the side a little bit, then I wouldn't be doing my YouTube show. We literally wouldn't be talking right now. So it's less about quitting something as far as you giving up, but more about saying, what am I willing to give up to get to the next level, right? That feels like a whole different show. Maybe we'll do that show in the future. But for right now, check out this video. Should I quit something, to get more insight and to understand more about that. All right. So those are my 4 recommendations for getting your best personal board of directors. Number 1, Braving the Wilderness by Brene Brown. So I make sure my Amazon folks are good. The Braving the Wilderness by Brene Brown. You want to get The Power of Onlyness by Miller for Merchant. Really good stuff, available on all the platforms. We have my own book, Bring Your Worth, which is the name of the show. So it's pretty important to me. But yeah, so check it out. Level up your creative power, value, and service to the world. And lastly, just grab the Seth Godin collection. Man, Built From Now, my new book, is my 25th book. I think Seth probably has double that. So like a trifecta of books right here. His collection is like immense. It's immaculate. All his stuff is good. But Tribes and the Seth Godin collection is a good place to start. Tribes obviously has to do with the connections in the community, but you can pull on that and create your own intimate community. Again, with my personal board of directors, I got 5 of y'all. That's it. And I have like 20 people that I'm consulting. If I have a deal on the table, if I'm trying to pivot out of this, if I'm having an issue with a client of mine, if I'm trying to figure out how to roll out the next product or service, I'm talking to my 5. That's it. I'm not talking to 200 people. It reminds me a lot of Brene Brown and her having that list of 5. And I'll talk about this in a future episode, I think. She has a list of 5 people. She keeps it in her pocket. And if someone's not on that list of 5 people, she doesn't care what they think. That's your personal board of directors. That's the best way I can sum it up. In fact, if I was thinking ahead, I would have went ahead and did an earlier show about it so we can talk about it now. But that gives you good insight. Again, it's about build a personal board of directors. If you're liking the show, it comes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. and subscribe for free at youtube.com/BrownDamon. And if you want to grab the new book, Build From Now, grab the audiobook. Y'all are feeling it, so I'm guessing more of y'all will be feeling it. Be sure and link it up over there. It's available on all the major audiobook platforms, not just Audible and Amazon, but everywhere. I make sure y'all are covered. If you want to get it on Apple, you can get it on there. I am not playing. I want to make sure that everyone who needs it gets it and gets as much insight as possible. Again, I'm Damon Brown of DamonBrown.net. Remember, you can always bring your worth, and that you can always build from now. Take care.